Yeah, right, yeah, mate. Well, we're pretty much off on our way. I think there's going to be episode 25, mate, of the Takers Gospel podcast. So we got quarter century, mate. We got yeah. So mate, you'll have to give me a kick up the ass if I pronounce your last name wrong, but we got Tobias Jurss-Lewis. Is that correct,
Mate.
mate?
Out
Out of
of
the
the
park.
fucking park. Out of the pack.
So yeah, so basically I got to meet Tobi up in Rockhampton in my brief 1 week stint there doing beef week early morning shifts. And yeah, Tobi works at the ABC as well. So welcome aboard, mate.
Thank you, mate. Lovely to be here. I wish I could be there in person, but sadly, it's sign of the times. I'm the
Yeah.
only bloke in Rocky in fucking lockdown, but here we are.
Yeah, so mate, you have to tell us a bit about that. How did you manage to get yourself in lockdown?
Mate, I did nothing. Hey, my girlfriend went to Brisbane to watch the Bronx and Cows game. I couldn't get the night off work to go. The parents were like buying tickets and everything. Asked if I wanted to come, and I was like, yeah. Didn't miss out on much of a game in the long run, right? But I was so meant we were going to go down. I didn't go. She went down, and then like Saturday morning, she wakes up and it's basically like, oh God, I've got till 4 p.m. to get out of Rocky, basically. So she got out, and then little did we know that this, because of the Delta strain and everything, won't make it. It's not about the COVID. What do you think or anything, right? But it means that like all family members, household members, anything like that of people who have been locked down must also be in lockdown. So I'm turning into the human pinball here, man. Just like bouncing off the walls of this house and everything. Didn't get the memo to get outside and get it out of my system first. So
Yeah, I was going to ask you too. Like, how do you find working from home, mate? Bit of a challenge, or?
it is. Hey, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like the ADD goes into overdrive. I feel like I'm grounded, actually, if you want the honest opinion. So, like, I look around the room and I just see all my toys, like the PlayStation's over here. I got a guitar over there. There's like a basketball somewhere in a boxing bag. And I'm like, I can't touch any of this stuff. I just got to sit here and, talk to the mayor about the ring road or something like that.
Oh God, yeah, I'd be exactly the same. I'm like pretty fortunate at the moment because I'm on the early shift, so I'm sort of the only reporter that's been going to the office. So we don't have a camo here either, so we do like all the shooting ourselves, like all the VJ work. So that's sort of been my role this week, is just chasing segs for Brizzy, whatever they want me to go and shoot, I go and shoot. So I've been fucking pretty flat out, but it's been so much better than like staying at home and having to work, I reckon. So pretty thankful for it.
Have you had to do it yet? The work from home?
Nah, I haven't had to yet. I've
It's
taken
the
the
only
laptop
man
home.
in Australia who's dodged it, I reckon.
Yeah, I've taken like the laptop home on, a big day to finish off some work here and there. But
Yeah.
like for our job, you kind of need the old double monitor setup. Hey,
Mate, have you got one of those little like the Dell things, like the little
yeah.
black Dell? Yeah,
Oh, I've got a ours is like silver.
yeah, right.
So
Maybe it's
maybe
better. Mine's like the fucking Hyundai Gets of laptops. Hey, like the thing just doesn't.
Oh, mate.
It's this big and doesn't move quickly.
And like when you're working in, you got your EMPS up and then you got to cut your audio on another software. Like it just never runs smoothly without a couple of screens, eh?
Nah, it's dire, man. It's dire. Tell me,
You got,
how's life on the sunny coast? What have you been doing since you've been there?
mate. Oh, look, it's been really good. Like I've loved every minute of it, but it doesn't feel like I've had a chance to sort of really appreciate it. Like it was flat out sort of when I moved here, because I was fleeing lockdown in Townsville at the time. So I sort of explained on last episode, it was like I went out to Charters Towers to pick up this furniture trailer. And then on the way back, I had the alert come through my inbox saying like lockdown 4 p.m. And I was like, fucking hell, because I was going to leave the day after. So I had to basically go home, throw all my shit in the trailer, and then
Fucking
drive down to Rocky.
the real life Tetris rush, hey? It's just
Oh,
like
mate,
jam it
yeah.
all in.
Yeah, literally. It was like a pretty good job. The old boy, he's just left work to come help me load all my shit. And then he was going to come down with me, but I ended up just going from like Townsville to Rocky on like Tuesday night and stayed at one of my boarding school mates' house. Got there at like just after midnight, and I did Rocky the sunny coast the next day. So bit of a mad rush. But yeah, so moved down here, and then I know I've done a few things, gone to a few of the beaches, but yeah, sort of last week and a bit been stuck in lockdown. So I was meant to have a big housewarming party last weekend, but yeah, come Saturday morning, here I am doing up all these beds for people, and then yeah, got an
No,
email.
no, Gypsy, you will not have a party.
That's it, eh? And like all my mates are coming up from Brizzy, so because I don't really have many mates here on the sunny coast, so everyone was getting ready to make the trip up. One of my mates, who his grandparents own this place, so he was staying at one of the other houses here on the sunny coast, and he came up on the Friday night because that's in like Minyama, and yeah, he's like, oh, I come up Friday night, had a night at Minyama, and then yeah, he had to basically leave on Saturday, go back to lockdown. So yeah, it's shit, especially when there's been no cases on the sunny coast as well at this stage.
No, yeah, touch wood, hey.
Mm.
Anyway, we won't get into the rag on the COVID situation because
The Rona.
Yeah, dude, aren't we lucky? I think I always sort of try to drag myself back to that. So I've got a mate in Sydney, and I'm sure Pete won't mind me saying this is like the biggest man child on earth. Hey, absolute legend of a bloke, but he's huge, mate. Like he looks like you and me strapped together, sort of thing. Massive guy. I met him through powerlifting and everything like that. And Petey's like been stuck at home for like, pretty much the vast majority of 18 months now since that kicked off down in Sydney. And his home's magnificent, like with his parents and stuff out in the northern beaches. But the dude is just going absolutely ballistic. And I'll ring him like every day, check up, try to do the "are you okay" thing with your mates. He's perfectly fine, but he's just like, man, I just cannot do anything else in this house. I've been to like every single inch of it stonked around during the day. Yeah, man.
Yeah, mate. It takes a certain amount of patience, hey? And it's just like, even like around here, there's police going around doing compliance checks pretty regularly. So it's pretty strict, eh?
Do you reckon you could be a copper?
No, 100%.
Nah.
I could not be. My parents are both former police.
Yeah, right.
Like they got out of the force back when, like before I was born. So we're talking back in the day. But I always say, and even they admit today, like I don't think they reckon they could do it nowadays with all the camera phones and whatnot. So yeah, it's a bit of a tough time to be doing it, I reckon.
Oh yeah, man. You're basically a bouncer half the time now. Hey, just checking people aren't stepping out of line and dropping in on the homes and everything. It wouldn't be fun.
And the other thing too is like, how they're handing out these $1,300 infringement notices.
Yeah.
It's like, I reckon you'd have to be a real wanker to like get one of those. Like,
I reckon.
Because they just want to give you a slap on the wrist, a bit of a warning. Like they'd probably say, "Oh, go home," sort of thing, before they hand one of those out, because it looks bad that people aren't complying. And it's just like, I reckon to get one of those, you really have to be like giving them a bit of lip and just, declining to talk to them.
It's like your mate that you see get booked for like dropping a ciggy butt on a night out or something, hey, or like jaywalking and stuff like that. And then the next day they'll be like, "This is such shit, man. I got booked for throwing a ciggy last night." It's like, no, you didn't, mate. You threw a ciggy and then you got booked for being lippy, kicking a car and then spewing on yourself. The ciggy was just a reason. The jaywalking was just the excuse for them to be like, "Fuck, man, you were being a dickhead."
That's it, eh? It's just like, and people do get lippy, eh? Like, I think, police are out there to just come and get you, but don't realize, some of the work they do to actually protect the community. But anyway, so
Dude,
I think
I don't understand it. Sorry for cutting you off.
no,
But
you're right.
I'm the lippiest bloke on planet Earth, right? Like to the extent that there was a 5-year period there between like when I turned 18 and when I turned 23. It's still running because I haven't been out on a New Year's since, but I got punched in the head every single New Year's Eve that I went out between years when I was 18 and when I was 23, right? That's the type of person you're talking with here. And even I'm like looking at those guys lip off to cops. I'm like, I don't know about that, man. I couldn't do that.
Not in our industry, mate. You don't want to be rocking up to the magistrates court on a Monday morning, and then you've got what do you got? The morning bulletin there reporting on an ABC.
Look, they're just doing their jobs, but like I remember reading something like last year from some, I think it was like down south, one of the community, like smaller papers down there, and same sort of thing, like just going to court and like writing whatever that pops up. And I remember the guy who wrote it told me that what they'd do is they'd have a look on your Facebook.
Yeah.
Punch your names into Facebook, and if someone had like 10,000, 12,000 friends or whatever, I'm an old man, I'm not sure if there's a friend limit anymore, but if they had that many people like following them or friends or anything, that they just write the story no matter basically what it was, because they knew that they were guaranteed X amount of clicks from this person.
Oh, really?
And it was stuff like, like ex-Lewards Hills school captain, school in Brisbane, prestigious school in Brisbane, like falls through a mirror, smashes it, and they find like half a gram of coke in her bag or something like that. And you're just like, oh no, mate, everyone's had a night worse than that. Hey, the guy writing the story, I can attest to the fact that you've had a night worse than that. It's just brutal that this chick's life has just been like cut down. Just the old life lumberjack, just cut it down like a tree. And then this poor girl's like, every job interview she goes from before, they're like, oh, what happened? You fell over, smashed that mirror, and then they found coke in you.
Oh, that's it.
While you were out at Fridays. Yeah, I'd challenge you to go to Fridays, throw a rock, and find someone who doesn't have coke in their purse, who's probably not going to smash a mirror that night. I fucking dare you. That poor girl.
Yeah.
That's like getting booked for cooking breakfast.
Literally, mate. And it's just like that's it. One thing like that. It's so easy to find dirt on people just with Google at the moment. One quick Google search. What do you know? Could be your career. So
I sound like the oldest bloke on earth. Hey, it's just like, you should.
You're going full boomer on us, mate.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of boomers, how about that basketball game?
Oh, yeah. Tough one. Especially when they're up, double digits with, was it like 4 minutes to go in the first half?
I'm trying to think now. Yeah, it was. They were looking great. They looked great. And then, I mean, mate, I'm not a basketball pundit, but it looked like they just got shut down by the defense and there was no idea. It's just super tight and in everyone's face. But fuck Kevin Durant.
Yeah, the grub, mate. I think people who listen to the podcast know I'm no fan of Kevin Durant, but mate, yeah, there's just, I don't know, you could just see like USA just turned it on after halftime. They're like, all right, time to start like D'ing up hard, and like there's just no separation. Anytime a player was past the ball, whoever was defending him was just smothering him. Like it's sort of like
no space at all. Hey.
Yeah, I think USA just know that they can cruise through, and when they need to play serious, they'll just turn it on. So I don't know, but to be fair, like Australia have beaten them before and recently. It can be done, but I think like Aaron Baines got injured early in the Olympics, so he would have been good to still have him out on the floor.
They were missing a couple of crucial players as well, weren't they? When we played them in the lead up to the Olympics.
USA.
Yeah.
Like I think all their Bucks and Suns players.
Yeah.
So it was like Chris Middleton, Devin Booker, and Drew Holiday, I think. So those three were still in the finals at the NBA. So they got all them back after, and then. But I don't think France will beat them. So
no, they'll. Yeah, mate. I don't know. Hey, that's just such a weird one. That stuff at the Olympics, like watching on like a massive track and field guy from school, and then also like massive on boxing, as sort of how we gelled back in the day in Beef Week.
Mate,
and everything. And I love that stuff. And like every Olympics, sans the ones that Bolt was there, there's just like. It's like wide open, generally speaking, like it's pretty hard to look at either of those sports and, really pick favorites, unless you specifically know exactly what you're looking for. And, if you follow the amateur boxing in the lead up to, I know that pros can fight under a certain amount of fights, but you watch those and it makes for like a riveting sort of competition. While I think that like the the basketball in the Olympics, at least from like my watching it, is it seems like it's anything that I pull from it is just hope. Like it's not that the games are engaging or anything. It's just that like you're hoping that maybe you'll do it this year. Maybe this time it'll be different. You're playing against what $3.4 billion worth of American talent. It's crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, it makes you wonder, like, you look at how athletic a lot of those athletes are, and I don't want to be, saying it's not possible, but how many of them do you reckon are actually juiced up and getting away with it?
Sorry, say that again. You just broke up.
Oh, I was just saying, like, looking at the athletes, how many of them do you think are juiced up and getting away with it?
Oh, mate, you're gonna hit me. You're gonna get the most contentious opinion I have probably on planet Earth here. I'm convinced that like the guys who win the races, like it's not messing with the results, because I'm convinced that like any guy in that 100-meter finals is probably on the sauce. Any guy in the long jump finals is probably on the sauce. So this comes from ages ago. There was like something where they took like a medal off, and I'm running off like 5 years without thinking about this, but I think they took a medal off a guy called Ben Johnson and gave it to Carl Lewis, who came second in this 100 meters. And Lewis was had also tested positive in the lead up to the Olympics, but there was some little caveat in the lead up that let him get through, and Ben Johnson had like tested positive for something else. So his gold got taken off him and given to another guy who popped in the lead up as well. And it was it sort of just tainted my my opinion on everything. Same thing with like it was like everyone in Bolt's training camp at one stage had all tested positive for a performance enhancing drug. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm like actually for the free market in sports. Like let them all take as much shit as they want and turn them into super freaks. I don't mind like that. And that was the thing in powerlifting when I was into it a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago actually. But they had tested and untested federations, and you could know like fairly convincingly that you were going into an untested meet and you were competing against guys who weren't tested. And then you were looking at the tested meets, and you were going in there and you're like, well, I'm not on steroids and I'll go in here and compete against, normal sized guys with normal sized arms lifting, heavy but normal amounts of weight. It worked fairly nicely for the most part. And and we used to love watching those untested meets. Sorry, man. We used to love watching like all the gear freaks show up at like 22 looking like they're 35. It looked like the cast of Predator showing up to lift weights.
Just
it was
physically
amazing,
impossible.
But it was great. It was like an old circus, and it was like the best watch in the world. And so like I don't know, probably a lot of those guys are on the staff. I've got nothing, and I don't think it's tainting results or anything like that. But.
No, well, I think you look at. Have you ever watched Icarus, that documentary?
Mate, a while ago as well. Like, when it first sort of came out.
That was a real insight into some of the shit that goes down and how they can get away with it. I think that was a huge eye opener, and you look at Russia now. That's sort of why they've got their ban, isn't it? Because of their cheating. But I don't understand it. How are they still allowed to have their athletes competing that aren't associated with the Olympic team? Like, I understand the concept, but how can they assure that those athletes aren't on the juice as well?
Yeah, mate. Look, I don't know. Hey, I really don't know. I actually didn't pay too much attention to media in the lead up to like this Olympics. Hey, like I really wanted to go in there blind.
Well, for me, like to be honest, I don't really. Like before the Olympics this year, I was saying like, I don't really get up for the Olympics. Like I watch the basketball because I love basketball. I watch track and field because I love track and field. But even like the swimming, like I was saying that it doesn't do much for me. But then after watching a few races this year, I'm like, as any other sports fan, they just start fucking frothing it. So I was like actually cheering and getting along. But I think it all comes back to if they are on the juice. You look at what Lance Armstrong got like pinged with after he got found out. It's just like, well, it's just essentially a case of the US's best athlete on the juice is beating the rest of the other athletes on the juice. Like their juiced up guy is better than your juiced up guy. So I kind of feel like it's an equal playing field if they're all on it. But Yeah.
That's exactly it, man. Like the Lance Armstrong thing's like the perfect example, right? It's just like maybe that guy put the foot wrong with like the whole anti-steroids. I'm a testicular cancer sort of survivor. But like, so going through high school, and again, it's why I've got such a cynical view about this stuff. I had this running coach who's still like a good friend of mine to this day, and he was just like the bluntest, most astute man in the world, and had like worked in like, you know, coached, you know, we won't say names or anything, but Brad had coached like legitimately like very, very, very successful Australian athletes in his time. And he had just like this view where like we were watching the Olympics and you'd be like, oh, do you think that Johan Blake's going to beat Usain Bolt? Do you think that Johan Blake's on the gear? And Brad was always just like, I'll be surprised when they don't test. I'll be surprised when the results come through clear. And he was obviously a kid into track and field running in America at the time that Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson stuff was going on. Yeah. And he had like that opinion about it a whole lot, which was like, and it's sort of one that I adopted, but he always said like very interesting stuff like that. And one of the ones that gelled to me, and this was like before Lance Armstrong got the positive tests, was Brad was like, you'll see one day that Lance Armstrong will test positive, because like that testicular cancer stuff is just bona fide sign that you've been on the good stuff for like a fair whack of time. Yeah. And then like a year later, sure as the day is long, comes out with that. And I remember going up to him thinking he was a fucking fortune teller or something. Yeah. It was just, again, just deadpan, just like textbook sign of steroids. Exactly like that, like in the car after, before we're going like running training, and we get there and he's like, all right, I'm go and run 10 400, see you later.
What a grab. Oh, God, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I feel like, especially it's like, you know, it comes around every 4 years. I know they got their own competitions and whatnot outside of the Olympics, but you know, you can't tell me they're strictly testing you know, performance enhancing drugs as much as they would be around that Olympic time frame. But even I remember watching Icarus, like I think it was like you could juice up right up until about 2 weeks before the game started, and you would return a negative result if you leave that 2-week period or whatever. And I was just like, holy fuck, like anyone could be juicing up if they're lucky.
It's yeah, man. So like, I'm going to sound like the biggest steroid head on earth, but like we had to in the powerlifting stuff, like you get, you know, drug tested and you have to piss in front of that weird little cunt with his fucking glasses and his thing. He watches you take a slash. It's fucked up, man. And then I had mates who were, you know, competing in untested powerlifting federations who tell you about like all the stuff they were running and everything like that. And it all just comes in half-lives. And, you know, unless you're a total maniac, you don't like run it all year long. You know what I mean? It'd be like, you know, like if you treated every night out like it was fucking Splendor.
Yeah.
You'd be dead by the end of the year. It's the same thing for these guys. Like they can't run all the stuff that they run all year long because they'll fucking die from it.
Yeah.
But there's stuff like certain things have like massive half-lives and testing lives. And then other things have like fuck all. So something like human growth hormone, it's like, that's got like a really small testing life, or something like trenbolone, which is like what they stab bulls with to make them huge.
Yeah.
Like rodeo bulls and stuff. Something like that will be in your system for a while. I mean, no one's taking that. And you can go and look at like that. The Russians who tested positive before that Olympics were like testing positive to some serious shit, which is probably why they were like, this seems iffy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, if you like, you know, those guys knew like all the testing lives of stuff. But you'd hear these horror stories, man, of like, one of the guys was telling me he was on this stuff called testosterone suspension, which basically like, obviously we've got like the normal testosterone levels in our bodies, and he was jabbing this stuff into him that would like, it was like artificially made so that it'd sit in your bloodstream and make your testosterone level way higher for like a period of, I don't know, 30, 90 minutes or whatever it was. So he could like go and lift with just like, and be just like a fucking gorilla while he was doing it.
Yeah.
And he like talked to me before he did it at this gym we were training at the time, did it, and he went out. And then like 30 minutes later, I was trying to talk to the guy as he's like deadlifting, and he didn't know who I was. Hey, and he was just like freaking out, and he like yanks his deadlift, and it's like heavy stuff, right? Like 330 kilos, sort of heavy. And his nose like starts bleeding. He throws his thing at the floor, and then he chucks 340 on there, and he starts headbutting the wall beforehand. nose still bleeding. Then, 10 minutes later, goes again, yanks it, nose bleeds again, fucks off. And he just like didn't want anything to do with you. And then like afterwards, he's wound down, puts everything away super, super politely, took his own bar into the gym. He packs that into like one of the things that the pole vaulters go to the Olympics with, and wipes his face off and comes out and he's like, hey man, I just want to apologize if I was like anything else. It's just that stuff, it really, it sends you into another place entirely. And I was like,
What?
yeah, man, righto. That's crazy.
Oh, dude, imagine that. Like you hear stories like that and you just can't, help but think, fuck, that must just ruin your insides, eh? You see all the heart attacks that some of these your powerlifters have late in their, or not late, their 60s, mid 60s. You can understand why.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. You see a lot of
Yeah.
earlier cases happening in their 50s and whatnot, and even younger. So yeah, it's scary. I can understand, like, it's probably be like a bit of a drug, eh? You just want to try and get that PB every time you lift.
I don't know, mate. I've never done that stuff. I've never been like interested in that stuff. I like slinging beers, and that's probably like, it's probably about as far as into the bad stuff as I like to get. So I get addicted to anything, but like it was like, you played sports growing up, it's the same sort of thing, man. Like you run 100 meters and you get attached enough to it and you're dying to like do it again and put that, shave that extra second off your time. And that becomes deadly when it's in a sport that's like powerlifting or something.
Yeah, especially an individual sport too.
Yeah, it's an individual sport. It's like, there's not the sort of scale of performance that something like 100 meters or 200 meters, whatever, that sort of long jump, everything like that. Like there's a lot more technique to something like that than there is to powerlifting. Now there is technique to it and stuff like that, but it really is like something like a deadlift. It's pretty much like raw force. And I'm sure if any powerlifter listens to this, they'll want to argue with stuff like that. But you can watch videos, like very easily Google videos of guys deadlifting with like rounded back, shifting like 400 plus kilos. Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And they look like mutants, those dudes. And they obviously put a lot of work in and everything like that. But there's a reason that their body's managing to like stay together at the moment while the wheels aren't falling off. But, look at Ronnie Coleman, the old Mr. Olympia. The dude's like struggling to walk now, basically because of, what a sustained period of like heavy lifting and basically injecting yourself with whatever you can sort of does to you. It makes, ultimate sacrifice, you're putting it on the line.
So basically, mate, it's a good excuse for you and I not to have to go through that pain of lifting exorbitant amounts of weight. I'll just
slap the old dad bod out and tell him that you're staying healthy.
Yeah, I'm doing this for my back. Just so I
keep those joints healthy.
I was going to ask you, mate, as well. Did you hear about the bloke in New South Wales today that got done for telling his boss that he had COVID? It turns out he was lying.
No.
So
come on.
So there's this bloke, right? I don't know what he's been fined, but yeah, basically he's called up his boss and said, "Oh, mate, look, I've returned a positive test for COVID. Won't be into work today. Probably won't be in for like 2 weeks." Anyway, so I'm pretty sure he's like a chippy or something, or a tradie. And so his boss has basically had to shut the whole project, told all the workers to self-isolate, and then all these other businesses, cafes around the area that this bloke has gone to, has just gone like straight into isolation, basically. Anyway, like a day or two later, he texts his boss again going, "Oh, g'day, mate. Just wanted to let you know, just had my follow-up COVID test and I've returned a negative result. It was a false positive." So I think his boss is just like, "Oh, well, this is fucking sus." Like, so I don't know if the boss has reported him or if someone else has reported him, but yeah, they like did a big investigation into it, found out he just was blatantly lying, and just wanted a couple of days off work. So yeah, he got fined. I was like, yes, sounds like something I'd do.
Dude, it's such a it's such a get out of jail free card in this day and age where you just like, I haven't even pulled it yet, I don't think. You're just like, oh, I'm feeling like I've got the symptoms. I'll go get a test. And then you just fucking get the test. It's 24 hours. You can have the day off work if you really want it, rather than lying about the fact that you've actually got
it.
it.
He could have just said, oh, mate, I went and had a COVID test. I'm not feeling too well. Like, that's in today's day and age, totally acceptable. Like, have the day off. Easy, mate. Send me through a screenshot of the test result. And I'm pretty sure that's enough for, you don't need a medical certificate, I don't think. But yeah, keep that little get out of jail free card tucked up the sleeve. But yeah, so that was a little thing I thought I'd mention on the podcast. But I was going to ask you also, mate, or did you have something to say there? Sorry.
No, I was just laughing, man.
But yeah, I was going to ask you, like, I haven't really spoke much about you, but when or how old were you when you sort of studied journalism, and how long have you sort of been working in the industry for, mate?
Yeah, I was actually going to say this. I was just thinking about it then. I've been pretty directionless with this.
That's been good, but it's been good. We've had fun.
yeah. How old was I? I was probably 20. Maybe I was 20. I want to say 20, man. So I took a year off after uni, just save up money, and just before uni, just loitered around Cairns, working heaps, and then moved down to Brisbane and went to college. And I was actually studying law, of all things. Straight away, I had this grand idea. I didn't know. I was going to say I had this grand idea of representing Lewards Hill ex-school captains who'd headbutted mirrors and had coke in their bag in their lawsuits against journalists. But I didn't. that wasn't a thing till I went in the industry. But I went down and did that. I did it for a year, man, and I was like, I wasn't that great at it. And I fucking hated it, to tell you the truth. Not just the subject matter, but the people in it as well. Like there's only so many blokes in blazers going to a lecture that you can put up with in a 12-month period. It's like these sort of dudes who like brag to you about like what their dad makes and what their dad does for a living, and you're like, what does this have to do with you? Like, you were born. You rolled the dice, you hit 2 sixes, and you've got nothing to show for it, but you're bragging about it like you do. It used to drive me up the wall, man. So I'd like finish the year, and I went home, and I vividly remember saying to mum, and my mum's this sort of like, I guess an earthy lady is probably the best way you could say about it. Like super bubbly, super lovely, but just like follow your heart, don't care, do whatever. Yeah. And I went home and I was like, Mum, Dad, I'm probably going to quit this law thing and I don't know, study something else. Might be journal. I was doing law and commerce.
Yeah.
Might be journalism. And Mum's like, that's great, darling. And Dad's like, you don't want to be a journalist. Those cunts just write about shit.
So yeah, well, that's what I want to do, Dad.
And I was like,
hit the nail on the head.
Actually, I think he said write about cunts writing about shit or something like that. It was great, man. But alas, as every 19-year-old sort of does, is determined to make my parents upset. So I went and did it. And it took fucking forever. I did like 3 or 2 subjects every semester. Just cruising around. I was like into powerlifting at the time, and I must have been just like this bridge troll that people saw like every now and then in their fucking subjects at uni. I just walk in fresh out of the gym, smelling like someone who's just fresh out of the gym. Like there was a stage there where I like didn't shave for a year, and I like had a mullet. This would have been like probably 2015 too, so like well ahead of like the mullet normalization that we've got now. And I'll send you a picture of it, man. I had this thing where I like shaved the side. My mate shaved the sides of it, and I like never did my hair because I was broke, so it was just like standing up everywhere like this. I had this mullet at the back and just a beard that was like this. I looked like the world's worst bush ranger. And I was like lumbering around. I've already had 20 kilos on what I weigh right now. It's just fat. Like I used to, there was this thing that was really famous at the time, like with powerlifting. For anyone who wants to get bigger, it was called the GOMAD challenge, and GOMAD stands for gallon of milk a day.
Yeah.
So me and my housemate at the time, Pete, the guy who lives in Sydney, we're literally drinking like 3 and a bit liters of milk every single day to try to
Jesus.
like whack on the calories. And I weighed like probably 100 kilos, and I'm like 80 dripping wet at the moment.
Holy
It
fuck,
was,
mate.
it was gross, man. It was horrible.
Dude. Yeah.
So I
I
used to
think
just
I'm about
pop in and out.
98 at the
Yeah.
moment.
Anyone listening to this knows that you're tall, and I'm like pushing 6 foot in a pair of RMs. So I look like a bloke with a bag at all times. It was just me. And I just used to pop in and out of these subjects. Probably with like classes. I went to like 2 every semester, sort of thing. But I was like quite diligent with my study at home. I just didn't like going to uni. I liked going to the gym for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And drinking milk, obviously, for university here and getting the calories.
Oh, mate.
And I wasn't drinking. Like I was off the beers at the time as well, which is they're easy calories. So
Yeah. I was gonna say, were you doing a bit of warm milk here and there too, mate, or just all cold?
yeah, by the time the 3 liters went, you do it in two installments. Like right as we started it, they bought out Paul's bought I sound like the milk connoisseur. Paul's bought out that Farmhouse Gold stuff. Like it comes in that really like bougie sort of big bottle. It looks like one that gets delivered to your door. They bought that out, and so we were doing like 2 of those a day, sort of thing. One in the mornings and one at the night.
Mate, that would have come at a premium, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was expensive. It was probably like, oh fuck, I'm going to do the maths right in my head now, but they're about $3.50 each. So we were probably spending $49 a week on milk each.
Holy fuck. Mate, you better buying a whole, like a dairy cow and just getting it straight from the teat.
Having a cow out the back. And we were penny pinching so hard, man, that we used to walk about 1.5 kilometers to the shops and then load up and then like walk the trolley back home. So, and this is at like UQ in Brisbane with anyone familiar. So it's like between the shops and where we lived was like a bus route and a really busy car route. So there would have been like all these students just watching these 2 psychos looking like the world's shittest bushrangers pushing trolleys with just like 14 bottles of Farmhouse Gold each up the fucking hill into their houses.
Mate, it'd be funny if you got mugged for your milk one day. Some bloke just comes and jumps you. Give us that milk.
It's actually some college kids, like one night when we were walking back, like started a fight with Petey, which was an absurd reason because Pete would have been like 6'4", 125 kilos at this stage. Yeah. So he's just like the least fightable guy you could imagine. And he like grew up all over the world, but like boxed a bit as a kid in America. And this like college kid was like having a go at him, and Pete was just having none of this kid, like trying to push him and throw punches. And he basically picked up like a carton, like a beer carton that was empty, and he squished it together like a frisbee and chucked it at this kid, and it just like bricked him straight in the head. And I've never seen like anyone more upset. It was just like he just dadded the hell out of this guy. He's still got the trolley going, and this kid's like having a go at him, saying everything. And Petey was like aggressive back, and it escalated. And this kid threw a punch, and Pete slipped it like a professional boxer, and just bent down and picked up literally a carton of beer. Just with his big gorilla hands, squashed it and frisbeed it at this guy's head. It was just like... And all his mates standing across the road was screaming and shouting about wanting a go or anything, and Pete's just standing there looking at them. It was, it's 21-year-old guy just dadding about 50 people. It was great.
Yeah, mate, I can't imagine the cardboard too. I reckon that would have hurt right on the bridge of the nose, was it?
Yeah, no, it was right between his eyes. Instead, like straight along his eyebrows.
Oh god,
it was great. But yeah, Pete ended up moving back to Sydney, and I moved to West End in Brisbane, this little hipster suburb. Not little, it's gentrified now, but hipster sort of suburb. And like the first night that I was sort of living there, I'd gotten rid of my mullet. I just had like a normal bloke short haircut and like a more trimmed up beard. And I was walking down the road, and this fucking homeless guy's just like screamed something at me, and I turned around. And he's like lobbed a fucking beer bottle at my head, and it's come like whizzing past. I was like, what the fuck? And I've turned to look, and there's like this whole group of like textbook sort of stinky hottie alternative chicks, right? Like all the hipsters, and they've all looked at me and they like shook their head and they're like, what? And I was like, fuck, I need to fit in at this place some more. So I grew long hair then.
Yeah.
And I was walking around in like exclusively Hawaiian shirts and skinny jeans that didn't fit properly. So I was still into lifting with like me long hair pinned back. And,
Yeah.
To fit in at West End. And in that stage, I finally finished my journalism degree. Decided I didn't want to be a journo. So I was working in bars at the time and bars and cafes. So I went back to uni and picked up the commerce degree. I started in first year of university with law. So, and I did a semester of that, and I got a job as an undergrad accountant, which fit me about as well as anyone listening to this hearing those stories would have thought that being an undergrad accountant fit me. And I worked there for fucking 3 days, man. I was like, and on the third day, I was talking to like one of the managing partners, and I'm a mad keen Liverpool fan, right? I was like, oh, mate, I live for Liverpool. Fucking love it since I was a fucking kid, mate. Adore it. You know, I remember Steven Gerrard, mate, just singing any song possible. And this guy, so I was sitting down in the lunchroom, and he's sort of like, "What do you like?" And I was like, "There was a game that night," and I was like, "Mate, I love the soccer." And he goes, "Oh, I got front row seats in Spain to Barcelona versus Real Madrid game because one of my mates is like works over there and knows one of the guys affiliated with the club, so we were right there, like sort of on the front rows for that game. And that's like anyone who knows soccer, that's a big game." And he's like, and I was like, "Mate, what was it like? Like this is," and I was asked when, obviously, it's prime era, right? It's Ronaldo, Messi era. They're both there. They're both playing. Like those teams were the best teams in the world by a fucking country mile. I say that as a fan of neither of them. And he was just like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just a soccer game." And he's like, "What do you want to do with yourself?" And I was like, what I wanted to say to him was like, "Fucking not this."
Yeah.
Like, if you can't even rally a bit of excitement for like possibly one of the biggest sporting derbies in the world, sitting on the fucking front row for it, like, mate, I got nothing. There's no reason I should be here. And I went home and I was like, this is fucked. And I just started like calling, hey, like I called my uncle who worked for Seven in Brisbane. It's typical journo nepotism. And Paddy was like, "Yeah, mate, come on down. You can do a bit of an internship here." And there we are. And sort of, story so far. From there to Seven in Harvey Bay to the Courier Mail and to ABC, baby.
Yeah, nice, mate. I was gonna say, mate, it's funny how like all those little things lead you to where you are today. Getting in fights, delivering your milk back to uni, to nearly fighting a bloke who's not passionate about soccer. But yeah, that's it. Sometimes you can just be in a job and the vibe's just off, and you just think, how can I do this for another 30, 40 years?
Yeah.
But
I don't know, man. Like, I'm
sorry?
sure, like, probably the same. I was just going to say, I'm sure probably the same thoughts, like, come through your mind with it and everything. Like, and anyone who's not a journo listening to this, it's probably not shocking to hear that, it's not exactly the most lucrative profession on earth, but it's good, and it's fun. And I guess, like, I was always like, oh, may as well just, ride the horse while it's there rather than look back and think that I could have, sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And like also, I
time.
suppose for those that are listening, like that probably don't notice as much as we do, but the amount of cuts that are happening to regional journalism at the moment, we've just seen Channel 9 and Win join forces and cut over half of their staff. I think they've had to go back to one journo and one camo per bureau. So like, your Rockies probably do they only have one camo and one journo? Do you know what's happening?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I think they've got a producer, like a chief of staff, a journo, and a cameraman in Rocky for the Win 9 sort of thing, and then Seven has a sporto, a journo, a producer, and then 2 cameramen and an editor, I think.
Yeah, okay.
They're a bit more staffed, but it's sad, mate. Hey, seeing that stuff, because like, and like, I don't know if you like ever look at like, I don't really understand Twitter on the, like, going back to me saying I'm an old man or anything, but every time there's cuts to regional journos or like, newsrooms and stuff, there's this, outcry of people coming out and being like, "Oh my God, I used to work there. It's such a great experience and everything." And like, 9 out of 10 of them were like so keen to fucking get out of the regions into a capital city. But then like all those people come out, and then people coming out and being like, hey, fuck you. All you wanted to do was leave the regions when you were there. I remember that. Fuck off. Don't make this about you. And that's like not helpful either.
Because
But it
you
is,
need that support from the capital city too, you know?
yeah, the bottom line is that it's just sad. Like, it's just like, because maybe blokes aren't cashing massive checks out here in the regions, like, doesn't mean it's like not a good place to live. There's the news is here, mate. Like, I think that's probably the really sad thing about it.
Yeah,
Is that, like, that's like where the news is. Like, the stuff you hear from Brisbane's like all well and good, like whatever it is, like some AFL stars murdered someone, or some gang stole an AFL star's like car, or whatever the case may be. But out here you get that really fascinating stuff that people dream about. So much of this sort of state in particular is all like here in the Northern Territory, and I grew up around it a little bit. It's like, it's just untapped gold, man. Like, it is like, there's still like the Wild West still exists out there.
Yeah,
Which is
100%.
It's just sad that it probably doesn't get covered as much as it should.
Yeah, so many stories, so many golden stories would go untold, unfortunately. And I feel like, some of the pressure that's on, before that, even before they made the cut, some of the pressure that was on regional journos to go out and cover all the breaking news stuff and just, get the stories of the day. They never really, I felt like at the commercials, got the chance to go and pursue stories that they wanted to do. It was always sort of like they were reporting the news, not looking for the news. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think at the ABC, we got that luxury though, where we can sort of go and like, find the stories and, basically not just report off of press releases. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate. It's just the luxury of time. Hey, is I think what it is. If you want to be curious and do stuff, then you can. Speaking of the ABC and your stint here with us in Rocky, what a week that was. Hey, what an obscure sort of thing Beef 21 was, right? So
Yeah.
I guess the Cliff's notes on it for anyone who doesn't know. It's the biggest cattle event in the Southern Hemisphere. It's fucking obscure, and it's held in Rocky. And how many? Like more than 100. What was 120,000 people plus came through the gates this year? Huge. And it's a week-long sort of expo. It's massive, and it's like so odd, hey, because I never grew up in cattle country or anything like that, and I hadn't worked here for super long before. I think probably like maybe 6 weeks before beef happened. And I was like going there and looking at these cattle judging competitions and anything, and it was, mate, I don't know if you had much to do with it growing up around the region, but I was like, what the fuck is this? There's like people taking big bulls out and poking them in the dick 50 times. There's like a whole bunch of old guys like stand on there. Very impressed. And then like they do that, and I was like, that's fucking strange. And then like they do it again, but there's like school kids taking them out, and there's like school kids commentating on like the size of these bulls' nuts and everything like that. And I was fucking blown away by it. It was just a part of the world that I'd never seen before. It was really, really odd. It was a fucking great time. It became this, every politician that you could throw a stick at showed up and said absolutely fuck all.
Yeah. This is what we're doing here, just showing our face, and this is what we want to do with the region. This is the funding.
I'm so happy to be here at Beef 2021. I'm so happy to be here at Beef 2021.
Yeah, and thank you all for coming. Look, this is a little bit off topic, but one thing that grinds my gears when you're interviewing a politician is you ask them a question and they'll be like, yeah, that's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked it. It's just like, just answer my question, mate. That's, stop blowing wind up my ass.
Time to think, mate. Hey, that's why they do it, I reckon. They're like, I don't know, fucking. That's what it translates to. I got no fucking idea what I'm saying right now. The one that gets me is you go there for a fucking press conference with them, and like, it's not going out live or anything. Maybe they do it to practice on the microphone. That's all I can think. But they get up, and it'll be like a fucking candidate for somewhere, some cunt who's never going to win anything. And he's like, I'm so happy to be here today with the member for Maranoa, David Littleproud. It's a privilege to be here on behalf of the Liberal National Party, and the fact that we're here is a testament to the fact that the Liberal National Party and the member for Maranoa, David Littleproud, are putting this region first. And you're like, can I have that 20 seconds back? That's going nowhere. No one's using that in the news. No one's using that in fucking... No one even wants to hear that ever. Not even you want to hear.
So true, mate.
It gets me, man.
Or it's just like, even just the little, thank you, Deputy Premier. Like, I can understand that if that's going live on Facebook, or, thank you, member, for this. Thank you, member, for that. It's just like, this isn't live. You don't need to say that shit. Just get up here, talk, and get out of it.
Speaking of live on Facebook, I've started trawling through the comments on those live streams, like when they put the COVID presses up. And there are some fucking gems on there, man. Like, there's obviously like the typical guys who think that Australia's America, and they're like, oh, God damn it, you can't make me wear a fucking mask. I'll come back to it. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it now. If you are like one of these anti-mask people, you like by default and by definition have to be like free the nipple, and you probably have to be free the dick as well. Because if you're like so staunch with stuff where you're like, you're making me wear an item of clothing is oppressing me, right? If that's your justification, like is what's wrong with the mask, then you've got to be fucking totally fine with me walking dick ass naked down the street every single day wherever I go. Just through the shopping centre, fucking don't give a fuck, schlong go out. And then those same people, because they're all like fucking hectic conservatives, like identify with like the South of America.
Yeah.
They're like, no. Well, that's putting my safety at liberty, the fact that I'm seeing that. And you're like, yes, cunt, that's the point. If you have this disease and you're just coughing it all over everyone without the mask, just wear the fucking thing, all right? And if you don't want to wear it, you got to be all right with my nuts hanging out as I go fucking buy some broccoli.
Well,
I'm convinced of that. That's watertight. It's not well spoken, and it's not very academic, but it's a watertight argument.
Yeah, mate. No, 100%. And the other day I put a video on my podcast story, Bill Burr, talking about it, and he was just going, if you don't want to wear a mask, that's fine. Take out your grandparents, take out your sick little brother who's got asthma. He's just like, talking about
that little laugh at the end.
Yeah, that's it. Hey.
Take out your fucking I don't care about your fucking grandma.
Yeah. The old Boston accent coming through.
The old Boston.
Yeah. Mate. But I know we're getting a little bit sidetracked here from Beef 2021, but just while we got you there, you're really good at your Tyson Fury. You need a bit of a Tyson Fury impersonation.
Oh, the Tyson Fury. All right.
Maybe give us a bit of fighting Deontay Wilder and cancelling on poor old Anthony Joshua.
Listen here, Deontay Wilder, you big dosser, you. I'll smash you any day of the week. All right, you come round here, easiest fight in the heavyweight division. Prove it. I've done it twice. The only way you could beat me the first time, you didn't even beat me the first time, was with 16 judges paid off on your side. You've robbed me of my fight with Anthony Joshua to unify the titles, and you've robbed the public of the only good fight that they're going to get in heavyweight boxing in the next however long. And that is me versus that other dosser, Anthony Joshua. And him and his gay lover, Eddie Hearn, could come out here. I'll fight them both in 1 week and turn around right now.
Dude, that was awesome. Oh, mate. How long did it take you to nail that one? Or was it just naturally good at it, mate?
No. I had to put a bit of effort into the Fury one. Some of them, I actually learned to do impressions from watching Lord of the Rings. Hey, I can't. That's the only one I can't fucking do anymore too. But I came home from watching the Twin Towers when I was a kid, and as you do when you're 6 or 7 or however old I was, you're like, oh my god, Mum, I watched this movie. This is what Gimli the dwarf said to Legolas the elf, and it was he said something about fucking killing 2 orcs and it only counting as 1 or something like that. And I did the voice perfectly, and Mum was like, wow, that's amazing. I can't even do it now. I won't try. But from there, I sort of learned to try things.
Just do it,
and obviously the Tyson Fury and the Liverpool one. So
bang on
like that. Yeah. I used to make a career at high school of doing Johnny Depp from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Really?
William Turner, your father was a pirate, mate, and I'm a pirate too, and you are going to be a pirate as well, mate. If I can tell you something, let me tell you, Black Pearl down the bottom of the ocean, as is my relationship with Amber Heard. It's Johnny Depp and Jack Sparrow these days, mate. Indistinguishable.
That was bang on as well, mate. Fucking hell. Dude, yeah, I remember in the office, like, might have been the first or second day I met you, you bust out the Tyson Fury, and I was just like, holy fuck. Like, if I had shut my eyes, like, I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. There's Tyson Fury here.
Dude. I think I linked you this a few weeks ago, but what did it for me was I was like, I need to be able to get this impression down. Was that interview? It's the best interview he's ever done in the world. When he's like sitting ringside and that reporter goes up to him, he's like, who did he knock out? I can't even remember who it is. It was like some fight. It was one of the guys from Liverpool. I wish I could remember his name right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, they go up to him and they're like, what do you think of this? And he's like, he's the biggest bum in boxing. Absolutely the biggest bum in boxing. I'll fight him any day of the week, yeah. Listen here, you plum from Liverpool. It's personal between me and you, and I'll do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
And then there's the commentator pull the mic.
And the commentator's like, all right, Tyson, that's enough. But Tyson nods at him. He's like, all right, then go on, one more. He's like, also, then you need 10 plumbers to get done with you. 10 plumbers to do you once I'm through with you. Also, you gay lover Tony Bellew. I'll fight him in between rounds.
Dude.
And then he's like, all right, Tyson, thank you. Go on then.
Go on then. It's like the commentator pulled away, I think, because he thought he was going to like start swearing on TV. And then I think he's realised what he said. He goes, oh, yeah, you can keep going. Go on then.
I got to Google this quickly and I can see if I can remember the guy's name. Hang on, Tyson. It was David Price. Okay. David Price, yeah.
You big stiff idiot, you.
David Price is the biggest bum from boxing. Him and John Maloney, that midget, calling me out. Say my name one more time. I'll fight you any day of the week.
Oh man. Oh god. Okay, I've got to clip this up and put it on the social media, mate, because that's fucking bang on, dude. Oh mate. Oh fuck. That's awesome. I've definitely written down a few things I want to ask you because I was like, I better not forget. But we've got to get we've got to get the Fred Brophy boxing story on record.
Oh,
mate.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, quickly, while we're on the topic of boxing, this kid from Australia won a bronze tonight. Well, he won a bronze the other night, but he fought in the semi-finals, men's lightweight boxing tonight. His name's Harry Garside, and he's a fucking legend, hey?
Yeah?
He's, mate, like big time. Like he does ballet dancing to help him train and everything like that. And he's just this like absolute cracker of a kid, man. It's just this mentality he's got. It's awesome. He was like wearing nail polish and everything at the Olympics. And he's, always talking about, destroying that image of the tough guy and stuff like that. Sort of ex-Eshe kid who found his way into the Olympics for boxing. He's Australia's, he's the best result we've got out of boxing. But even notwithstanding that, he seems like he's just legend of a kid. And no one would have heard of him because fucking who's looking at boxing in the Olympics? But ballet dancing, karaoke, singing, kid from down south who's just cracked the big time in boxing. So good on you, Harry Garside for the performance. He drew it was like us getting USA in the playoffs of basketball, man. He drew this kid from Cuba who's just like fucking one of the best fighters you'll ever see. Just so silky smooth. And he just all heart, mate. He gave it such a good nudge. He's probably never going to win the fight, but you would never have picked it from looking at it.
Yeah.
Him online, like so staunch and so happy to represent his country. And if any of that's not testament enough, you see this entire Australia boxing team have like changed their bios to like Harry Garside's number one cheerleader.
Oh, really?
That's
awesome.
Super well loved guy, man. Yeah, super done super well. Probably one of the like less known stories of the Olympics. So
nice, man. No, got to give him some love. Credit where it's due. I haven't been watching much of the boxing. I wish
it's hard to watch, mate.
You got to be on like 7 now or something, wouldn't you, to watch that? Or is it?
I watch it I'll do the sneaky and watch it on my phone while I'm at work. Hey,
Yeah, no,
just
that's
to
all right, mate.
have it set up on the side. But it's hard, man. It's 3-minute rounds. Hey, like it looks like shit usually. You know, like it's not enough time to get a read on anyone, and you're boxing for a minute longer than, you know, any of the pros do and stuff like that. It's just you don't know who you're going to fight ever, because it's like tournament style, quick turnarounds. There's no training camps really, like for each opponent or anything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm rapid firing here, which is like my pet peeve of like sort of sports fans. But basically, like a normal boxing fight, the ones you would watch, like UFC fights and stuff like that. That's not boxing, but they operate similarly in that, like, these guys have a long space between fights where they can study their opponent. They know who they're fighting. They watch all their opponent's old fights. They find ways in. They know how they fight, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and everything like that. Now, these guys before the Olympics, like, they're going in there having to study the entire fucking pool of people that they're fighting against, and then, you know, hoping that they don't draw exactly who Harry Garside drew, which is like Andrew Cruz from Cuba, because he's just an absolute red hot boxer. And you know, if you give a kid like 12 weeks to study up on him, maybe to look 12 weeks and then 10 rounds in the 10 to 12 rounds in the ring with him, you know, it might look a bit different, but you're fighting him for 9 minutes in 3-minute rounds. It's hard. It's hard to look at. Yeah.
It's like a sprint, eh? You know, not really the big, long boxing fights we see. And like, also, while we're on the topic, mate, do you reckon, like, I know there was a lot of talk and a lot of hype around Justice Herney winning, like, you know, being a gold candidate, but do you reckon he was a real chance if he had gone?
Don't know, mate. Like, it's hard to say. He's a talented kid. He's very young, and he's lots of people like are ragging on him for that Gallen fight. And I think that there's just a lot of factors in there that made that very, very tough for that kid. Number one, like Gallen being the toughest son of a bitch in Australia. Number two, he had a hand injury, and you know, number three, it's hard to perform when you're at such a young age with such expectation on you. You know, if you're going in there to fight a guy that you should walk over, you know, 9 times out of 10, you probably don't walk over him.
Yeah.
That's what
100%.
people don't really get with those sports. It's not like the Rabbitohs showing up to play the Rabbitohs showed up to play the Bulldogs, and it was actually a match. But you know, it's not like you know, like maybe Storm showing up to play the Bulldogs. It's not going to be a whitewashing really ever. And when it is, that's why it's such a big deal. And it's like, it's probably like one of the only unique opinions that I don't get from other people and regurgitate about combat sports is that, like, if you've got that power to walk in there and fuck someone up in like 10 seconds, you should probably give it a nudge for the first 10 seconds. Because if you knock them out in like 9 seconds or 8 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever it is, like Francis Ngannou in the UFC is a good example. People look at that and they're like, wow, this guy's an absolute wrecking ball. Well, like, he hasn't really fought the guy. He's walked in there and donked him in 10 seconds. And everyone says it's a whitewashing and a beating, but it's by like no means the same sort of whitewashing as a guy just styling on someone for 25 minutes and not letting him get a spot in. But people don't think like that. And then if it's 25 minutes and they don't get a spot in, you know, the rematch generally comes around. Well, if it's 10 seconds and a knockout, they never give you the rematch again, very rarely. So it's sort of interesting. But going back to Justice, man, look, probably, mate, like he's big. He's a big boy, and he's strong, and he can hit hard. But it's just that format of not knowing what you're up against. And those guys in heavyweight, man, there was a really good Cuban who fought there. He won today.
Cuba have always had a strong reputation for their Olympic boxers too, or just boxers in general. But
Olympic ones, big time. Yeah, they started up like a boxing. They sort of like almost like Russia did with like the weightlifting and wrestling and stuff. They basically like took all their eggs and they put it in the boxing basket. And it's like what they pay a lot of attention to with young and up and coming athletes is Cuban boxing, and then it's obviously wrestling as well. It's branched into that, but it's really all eyes on their young talents in terms of boxing. And that's their thing. So they're fucking good, man.
Yeah.
Especially in the Olympic setting, in amateur setting, they're great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see what Herney's next move is. So I think, what's the limit? Is it 10 fights now before you can you lose your amateur status? I think if you have.
I'm not sure, man. I want to say it's 14, but I don't know. Like, I don't say that with any confidence. That's the number that pops into my head. But it's not a lot. Like, You know, in the grand, how many he's had? He's had 5 or something. So
yeah, not many.
It's really do you do the money, you shoot for the gold in this at this stage, and
but
he's fighting him. Yeah, sorry.
You can't hate on Hooney for taking that Gallen fight. Like, look,
No.
everyone knows his name now.
No,
like,
mate,
everyone
not at
Australia
all.
wide.
No, not at all. Like it's. I think him probably taking that fight is an indication of where he'll go. You know, it's 4 years to next Olympics. It's Olympic boxing's tough, man. There's a reason that so many guys who achieve at that professional sort of level don't achieve the same way. Like Floyd Mayweather, you know, he did well, obviously. But you know, so Joshua got a gold.
Did Floyd get silver? Didn't he? He lost at the Olympics, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he didn't get gold.
But people say that was robbery. I've heard a lot of people say that he was, they don't know what happened with the scoring, but they reckon Floyd was robbed. But as you can see, he's the ultimate, you know, he's the pinnacle.
Yeah, 20 this day and age, yeah, it's such a weird sport, man. Like you just don't. It's so odd, and the people who love it just love it so hard. You know, like they just know things, all these weird little stats and everything, and they'll be like, "No, fuck Floyd Mayweather. He's not even anywhere near Sugar Ray Robinson and stuff like that." But you know, it's a good example. You know, for a lot of people, Floyd Mayweather is like maybe Canelo now, but you know, that's probably like the guy that you'll see in your life that you'll be like, "Fuck him," and you know, Pacquiao was maybe a bit before. Because Floyd fought Conor, and Floyd fought all these people that like kids know, you know, that are in like the wider sort of knowledge base rather than just like boxing knowledge base. That's what he did really well.
Well, that's it. And like, you know, I can't really say, you know, I've watched many of Mayweather's fights, but you're never on the edge of your seat on a Mayweather fight. Like, yeah, you can applaud his greatness. You know, has anyone ever landed a clean shot on his chin? Like, there's been a few fights here and there where someone might have rocked him, but he hasn't even hit the canvas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but you got to give full credit to him. You know, I don't think there's ever been a smarter boxer in terms of, you know, accumulating wealth whilst also protecting their head and body. Like,
nah, man, he's cool. It's cool.
You got to applaud it.
Yeah, like just never gets lured into a firefight. You know, never throws away what was written down. It's all really smart, and it's, you know, I'm sure there's probably a bit of arrogance to it too, which you've got to applaud, especially in a sport like that where it's just like, no, I'm better than this guy, and if I just do this, I'll win.
Yeah,
it's cool. I like it.
No, for sure. But I guess while we're still on, mate, we got to hear the Fred Brophy Boxing Dead story.
Yeah. So, mate, it's such that's like, oh God, where do you even start with it? That thing's like, what are you drinking, by the way? And you're on the Goldies?
Yeah, on the Golds, mate. It's got the like a Carlton Draft stubby cooler. So, bang bang. Yeah, nice. I don't mind the new chins.
I think they look good.
Yeah,
I think they look good. Brophy is a diehard 4X gold man. Loves it. They bought in this. I don't know what model it is, but they've bought in this massive Toyota truck, and they sponsor him all, you know, as he goes around the country and everything like that. Sort of Australian icon. He's probably I'd say he's that last vestige of like what maybe that proper wild Queenslander was.
Yeah.
Those old school crazy guys. And he runs this boxing tent that travels around the state primarily. And they'll go and they'll set up, and they've got a bunch of guys who travel around with him and fight people. And then they literally just fight anyone who pops up out of the audience and puts their hand up. And sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. But I think, like, I was fascinated about it since I was a kid. I've always really liked those sort of Aussie icon sort of stories. Like, I met one of them, my uncle was really good mates with Billy J. Smith, who used to host It's a Knockout and commentate the NRL from time to time. And like, you meet Billy in real life, and he's just like, whatever you think he is on TV, he's that times a million in real life. Just this, you know, it's just insane personalities, like teasing waiters who are bringing out these food and stuff like that, but doing it in such a way that the waiter walks away smiling and stuff. Like an amazing personality, and that hit me early. between that and every like other sort of international personality I met sort of letting me down a bit, I guess.
Yeah.
It was those that I've only ever really met. But I thought, well, I wonder what this Freddie guy's always like. And it's sort of just like fate aligned, hey, in that I came to Rocky to work for the ABC here, and then he'd had the biggest hiatus of his traveling boxing tent career because of COVID. And the first one back was bang here in Rocky and Beef Week. And a mate of mine sort of put me in contact, and I gave him a call and sort of rocked up there and had a bit of a yarn, and we did a story and everything. And I got to sit ringside and all the fights and stuff like that. And, I've been around with him a little bit since. So I made pretty good mates with the guys. And mate, what strikes you about you is you go there and you think that like, this is just going to be total madness, right? Like it's a traveling boxing tent. You're going to see these big, rough and tough guys pop up from out of the crowd and try to box on with these guys who are all psychos and travel around with this tent. And it's like true to an extent, but look, these guys who travel with this place, mate, like if they like you, they're just the nicest people in the entire world, like so welcoming and so like just total rough diamonds, hey. And just like the stories that they tell, man, like he's always got this little fire going out the back of the tent.
Yep.
And you go and you stand around it and you talk to the boys and all, there's girls who travel with him as well. The Beaver, who's becoming
Beaver.
quite famous in and of herself right now. She loved the call out.
Yeah.
Like they're all around there, and you stand around and you sort of get to talk to these people. And one of the guys is like a barrister in his spare time, and then he's fighting for the Australian Masters title in September. And another one's a world kickboxing champion. Another one who's just been traveling with Freddie for 27 years, knows every inch of Queensland. And they've got all these stories about like, and Freddie himself, mate, like there's these amazing stories when you can wade through all like the bits that are inflated truth and everything. And basically like just doing this for his whole life because he loves it. And then like now he's gotten to this stage where like half the people in the state know his name, and they flock to these tents as he sets them up. And then he's done it for like forever. And he's like, I remember going places and not having enough money to put fuel in the tank, but someone came and fought for us, and I told it to him and they filled it up for us. And then it was on to the next one sort of thing. We were just living from town to town, having fun, and, taking the kids to all different schools and things like that. And, meeting him as a bloke who'd won an Order of Australia medal, who every single person knows who he fucking is, and hearing stories like that from back in the day. And he tells them, like, you go and watch him and he beats on his drum and he calls people out of the crowd and he's like, I'll give you something that you've never seen before and you'll never see again, and you'll talk about it for years to come. It'll send chills up and down your spine like Venetian blinds. We got the Beaver here. She's got hairs on her legs so thick they could spear a rat. We need a chainsaw to cut them. Stuff like he just goes on and on and on. Like, we got the traveling Chinaman. He's the only Chinaman from Taiwan, but he comes around here with me and he fights. And you can fight him if you want. And we've got the Digger. The Digger doesn't fight anymore, but he takes care of the fighters. And he's like this ultimate spectacle. He's like one of those rides that he just sits there and looks at everyone. And then the moment someone asks him a question, it's like he put $2 in a ride in a shopping center, and it's just like brings to life. He's just the ultimate entertainer. And then you hear all those stories, and then all the entertainment fizzles away. And he says, "Yeah, but mate, well, back in the day, it wasn't like this. There weren't people thinking you're a champion. You didn't have an Order of Australia medal. You were some thug who travelled around with a boxing tent around the place, and we used to get laughs and have great stories and everything like that. But there's no money or anything like that. And it's something that I like to hold on to, mate. Hey, as as a bloke in this sort of profession, doing something where a whole lot of like other people who went and did the law thing straight away at uni, chasing money and buying 4 million houses and everything like that. Something that I like to hold on to and think that, no, mate, maybe you can just be a good bloke and chip away at your thing and then land on your feet. Don't want to be an idiot about it, but the guy's a living testament to that. And if you ask him now, like, fuck knows how much money he's got. He's probably got a bit. He owns like few hotels around the place and everything. But more than anything else, he's just this down to earth, super humble, super happy guy, mate.
Yeah.
And all he wants to do is take this tent around the place and hang out with his boys. And these guys come from fucking everywhere, right? Like one of them is a good mate of mine, and he lives in Cairns. And he travels wherever the fuck Freddie wants to go. And will come down from Cairns and go out there with him. Other ones live in Hervey Bay. Some live in Bundy. You know, some live as far south as Brisbane. And they come up from Brizzy to fucking Charters to go and fight for this guy, you know. And they do it for the love of it, and for the spectacle. And it's amazing. So, yeah, I sort of just fell into him by like writing a story about the first time that they came back after COVID and giving them a bit of a plug at Beef Week. And I think everyone was sort of taken aback by like just this sort of thing, because you know, not too many people in our age group sort of hear about it.
Well, that's it. You sort of just think that it's like a public liability nightmare, something like this. But I think he's got some sort of way out of it, because you know how there's that public liability insurance crisis for people that are going to, you know, for the amusement riding industry at the moment. But I think he gets by because there's still insurance for performers, I believe. I think he's,
Mate, I've got no fucking idea.
Yeah, because like you think like you wouldn't do this without insurance, because someone fucking hurt themselves. Bound to happen. So I think because he's not like an amusement operator, their class as performers, he can still get decent insurance, I think. Whereas if you got a fucking, I don't know, a dodgy amusement park ride, I think it's a bit hard to rock up to a show these days without affordable insurance. So
yeah, probably. I don't know the ins and outs of it. Hey, I haven't even asked him. I'll ask him next time I see him. But he's, mate, look, I'm not doing it any justice rambling about it right now, but like it is just like such a spectacle. But more than anything else, it's just like those people who were there, like what you see and then who they actually are. It's just like amazing to put those two and two things together.
Yeah.
And just realize that like the group of people, and you've got to be a special person to rally up this troop of like individually amazing people to get them to come from fucking far and wide to get punched in the head for you, basically.
Yeah.
Have a laugh. Like that. It's incredible, mate. Like it's such a good thing. And I can't do it any justice because I'm not him. I'm not as good at telling us stories as he is or anything like that. But it's truly amazing, man. He just, yeah, nothing else like it.
I'm sure anyone who's sort of listening to this, I'm sure they could do a quick YouTube search and there'd be heaps of footage you'd think of, you know, blokes uploading their mates' fights and whatnot, just to give you a bit of an understanding.
Oh, big time. Yeah. They've got like a Facebook group online. They'll be stoked that you're giving it a plug, actually. But you can type in, it's Fred Brophy's Travelling Boxing Troop or something like that. You'll find it. And you just like add the group. And it's growing since they came to Beef Week, there would have been less than like 8,000 members. And they're at like 15 or something now, man. It's just blowing up. And it's so cool. All these people. And like the tents that they've set up since then, they've been to Kilkeeve and they've been to Burnett Heads, been to Brizzy. Or maybe not Brizzy. They've definitely been to Charters and Cairns and Townsville. And they set up these tents and they reckon they're just getting bigger and bigger and more people are coming. And it's fucking amazing. It's so good because it's an icon, mate. Once it's gone, it's gone. Probably because it's no more insurance deals and there's no more get out of jail free cards if you're not Freddie sort of thing. But it's absolutely amazing, mate. And I guess like the testament to it, you saw me that week. Is it like I'd go out there and I'd see these guys and I'd ride a bit, and then I'd end up fucking staying there till 4 a.m. and sleeping like 2 hours. And I'm not a bloke who likes missing out on sleep ever. Definitely get around to party, but I like my sleep. And then I was rocking up in the morning off like 1.5 hours, 2 hours just to do it all again. And I was more than happy to do it for the whole week, hey. And then as soon as they left, and we're at like, there were balls and stuff like that where we had free tickets, mate. I wasn't fucking at any of them. All I wanted to do was sleep. Yeah. And I felt like all the fun of the week had gone. Hey, once they left and like, you know, that wasn't there for me. I was hanging out, you know, going to balls and like things that are meant to be like insanely fun. I was just like, it's just not quite the same without this sort of stuff here. So it's fucking amazing. Yeah. If anyone can get the chance to get out and see it, they go Sunny Coast, they go Bundy, Hervey Bay, or Torben Leeds near Hervey Bay, all the way up, and all the way out, Birdsville, Baduri, Camel Races, Charters Towers, Townsville, Cairns.
Yeah. Go, it is a show, mate. That's for sure. It was my first time watching it. We all had a fucking blast watching it. And like that's something I'll remember for the rest of my life. And I'm grateful that I've just by chance through work got the opportunity to come down and report there for the week. Got to meet you, mate. Who would have thought if I hadn't come down, wouldn't be doing this right now.
You poor cunt.
It is. It's nice when you're working for, you can be a company or a business, and then you go to another office and you meet someone like-minded. It's just like, sometimes you probably, I don't know if you've ever felt like you were didn't fit the mold, and then you'll take sometimes to meet someone else who sort of has that similar personality, and you're like, there are blokes like this. Yeah.
Absolutely, big time. Hey, it's funny. I was just talking to my girlfriend before we were doing this, and she's like, "Yeah, Jake. I didn't meet Jake at Beef Week, but I remember you talking about him all the time. Like, so how long have you two sort of known each other for?" And I was like, "Fuck, we probably spent all of about 5 days, a bit of 5 days together." But it's good, man. You meet stuff like this, and you click, hey, and then it's great. Yeah, I mean, it's sad that shit like this lockdown and everything's happening. Just makes coming. Even like I was down the sunny coast the other day, as you know, it just makes like getting out and doing shit so fucking hard all the time. But happy days.
And being CQ boy myself, and living sunny coast, like it's a lot closer to CQ than what Townsville was. So I'll probably be up in the area a bit here and there, and I'll fucking definitely hit you up when I'm in town for a catch up. But
good boy.
Yeah. Mate, I've still got a lot I want to talk to you about, but we'll do it in another episode if you're ever happy to come back on. But we've got to wrap it up soon and go and get dinner sorted.
Yeah, of course.
But what do you got planned for the rest of your weekend?
Mate, not much. So we're stuck in lockdown until Sunday at least. I'd probably wager that it'd be more, but go and check up on how this Canberra Raiders game is going. Do you know Elijah Anderson?
Yeah, he was in my grade at school. So
yeah, he's on
is
the
it
bench
on at the
tonight,
moment?
as you know.
Yeah,
he should be playing right now, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll have to check in.
He's
see
on the
how
bench.
He goes.
Yeah, so hopefully he gets a few minutes. It's seems like a nice kid. I was talking to him the other day, so
yeah,
I'll
mate.
have a look at that.
Very, very kind fella, and a very good looking fella as well. So
yeah, he's
he's got I think he's got a pretty long term girlfriend, but yeah, he's got it all, mate. Smart, nice, athletic, and attractive. So props to EJ. He's the man.
He looks like he's carved from stone, mate. And then I was like talking to him yesterday, just on the radio, and his answer is just so well spoken, just so eloquent, so gentle, man. So
very humble.
Yeah, great. So hopefully it gets a run tonight. It'd be good.
Because there was rumours going around. Now, I don't know if this has been true or been confirmed or is true, but his older brother, who I think also has the same sort of genetics in terms of looks. There's rumours going around that back in the day when Margot Robbie was a young teenager in Australia, he dated Margot Robbie. That's word on the street, unconfirmed. So I might chase that up and find out if that's true. But if you ever talk to him, just ask him if that's the case. And then
I'm talking to him on Monday, mate. I'm going to ask him.
Yeah, do it. And then it might have just been something I've misheard, or I don't know if it's true or not, but I think that's what I heard. And get that confirmed for us.
A mate of mine went to school with Margot Robbie, so I'll be able to. I'll hit him up and ask. I don't know how full of shit he is about like how much he knows her or anything like that, but he apparently knew her a bit through school. So
yeah,
not gave her a kiss or anything, but I imagine it attracts. Once you hit the big time like that, every fucking bloke who ever looked at you once is going to say that I knew you.
Yeah, that's it, eh? Oh, well, she probably, I don't know. If I saw her walking around Byron like you saw one of the Hemsworth boys, I don't know who I'd be more excited for, Chris Hemsworth or seeing Margot Robbie in the flesh. I'm a big
Speaking of Byron Bay, and before we go, and good-looking people, you've got to fucking go and watch Zac Efron's travel show. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's no good. It's terrible, but it is
really?
so funny. It's so funny, man.
Yeah.
Like there's one where he obviously travels around the place and he sees shit, but it's like it's like a toddler doing it, man. And he's just like, this fucking dude has made just no, no effort at all to like go through the motions of like learning proper facts about like where he's going. It seems like he's just dropped him there and he's like, all right. So he's like doing this one in France. He's like, so we're somewhere in Europe. It's like,
So,
fuck, man, where?
yeah.
And then there's another one where he's at like this, I don't know, he's at like a power plant or something in like Iceland, and they're driving into it, and he's looking at it, and there's like these big fucking things spewing gas into the air and everything. He's like, "Whoa, this reminds me of Jurassic Park." He's like,
So,
"Fucking why?"
yeah. I don't think I saw
Why,
anything like that
like-
in Jurassic Park.
There's a big grey wall that's keeping something in and something else out, and that is just like, yes, T-Rex. That's like the first thing he thinks of. He doesn't think of like, I wonder what's happening here, and he's like, no, Jurassic Park, it's unreal, man. It's so good. You go,
I'll have to look in, mate. Maybe this weekend in lockdown, I'll have a watch.
Yeah, go into it with a grain of salt, but it's amazing. It just makes you feel so good about the fact that, you know, maybe you're not as good looking as Zac Efron, but your brain certainly is just operating at a different pace.
Got some smarts about us, something like that.
Not even. I'm dumb as, but I definitely don't look at something and the first thing I think of is Jurassic. Maybe if I saw a fucking enclosure with a T-Rex in it, I'd be like, yeah, this reminds me of Jurassic Park. But by that stage, it pretty much is Jurassic Park. Would you go if they had a Jurassic Park? Before we wrap up, would you go to Jurassic Park?
Like real life dinosaurs?
Yeah, if they made a real
100%.
life Jurassic Park, would you go?
I'd go. I'd be wearing like fucking full body suit of armor though, in case I got eaten by a dinosaur. I'd have a gun or something with me.
Plonk in looking like a RuneScape character.
It'd be quite the sight though. Imagine big T-Rex just leaning over the fence having a sniff of you. Oh, I'd be shitting myself.
I'm into it.
All right, mate. Well, we might wrap it up here, but I reckon we just revisit this in a week or so whenever we're free, because I reckon I only got through half the content now. We've been chin wagging for about an hour and a half, I'd say. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure. You've been a good guest. Fucking love having a yarn with you. So we'll do it again very soon.
It has been chaos. And then speaking of chaos, next time we're here, I'll drop the Conor McGregor impression. How about that?
Oh, mate, keep the listeners looking out for that one. Awesome, man.
I love it. Thanks for having me, brother. Really good to talk to you.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Look forward to the next one. Thanks for coming on, man.
Always a pleasure, mate.
All
Can't
right,
wait
mate.
to see you in person.
Oh, for sure. All right, bro. I'll catch you later.
See you all. See you soon.
See you, mate.